Hey, welcome to the after show for Houdini and Doyle. Today we're talking about episode 5, Curse of Korzha. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Got some music for you guys going. Woohoo! Hey, welcome to the Houdini and Doyle after show today. Like I said, we're talking about episode 5, Curse of Korzha. You can find me online at Kari Lane. That's Karidlane. And I'm joined by my awesome Studley co-host. Tell people where they can find you.
Kind. My name is Ty Matthews. Y'all can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA, as well as various other after shows. American Ninja Warrior starts this week, so that'll be fun stuff. Not magic related, as I feel like most of my shows are, but it'll be fun. Ninjas.
Woohoo! They're almost magical, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the All-Stars last night. Watched that competition. That was exciting.
Yeah.
Watched all those skills challenge, guys. Hi, I'm Frank Moran. You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie. Not going to be doing the Ninja Warrior show, but still watching it anyway.
Exactly.
And guys, so we're getting the show started with facts. Appreciate that you guys appreciate them. I appreciate your appreciation, which is a line in a play, and I was like, I love that line. I think it's super funny. Anyway, okay, so I got a couple quick facts for you, and this kind of goes a little bit more on the lines of like casting and who they picked or they all are about what they look like. So, not that you have to cast exactly, but when you are doing real people. So one of them is they're born 15 years apart. I don't think they're 15 years apart in the show.
No. Right.
I feel they're pretty darn close-ish. They feel in the same.
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Houdini was physically described. He was short and lean. He had the physique of a flyweight boxer, and described as a wound up like a coiled spring.
Interesting.
Which I'm like, I think that description kind of fits our dude.
Sure.
Yeah. He's like ready to go.
Oh,
and I'm
absolutely.
like, short. I don't really see him as short though. Lean, yes, but not necessarily short.
Right. I think it's just Arthur Conan Doyle seems so tall.
Yes.
That it's like.
And Doyle was described as big and raw-boned, so.
Interesting. I
He's
like
a
that.
big guy.
I like that
Yeah.
to describe someone.
Raw bone?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I mean, is that anything like big boned? Or is
I think it's another way to say big bone, probably.
okay.
So he's just a tall guy. Now here's a funny one. Okay, this is really funny. Now this one, it's a author quoting someone else, so I don't have who said it, but a modern journalist said that when they were standing together, Houdini and Doyle looked like Pooh and Piglet.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Right?
I love it.
I was like, oh my god, that's so funny. And I'm like, is that like our guys on the show? And I'm like, kind of, but not
I can
really.
see that.
I can kind of see it though.
Sure.
And I've always seen Piglet as like wound up like a spring
Yeah,
coil.
he's
Always. Yeah.
high energy.
That's funny.
Yeah, mellow. All right. So I hope you guys like those. Oh, there's the paper going. It disappeared like magic.
Whoa.
So we'll get into this episode.
Like it was never even there.
I know. Poof. Now I just need like the smoke. Be like the.
Exactly.
Yep.
We'll bring smoke bombs into the
I
studio
know.
next
That'll
week.
be for next time.
It'll be great.
Yes,
The
it
effect will
is.
be awesome.
I know, right? All right. So this episode starts off rather exciting. We have our search party. We don't know what's going down. There needs to be a sacrifice.
A blood sacrifice. That's always
And the
an
arm was cut.
Exciting way to
have we
start off an episode.
Yes. Have we talked? Oh, I think it was Night Manager. What did we talk? Somebody talked about how you cut. No, sorry guys, that's Vikings. When you're doing blood cutting stuff, I'm always so annoyed when people are like, "Here, let me cut my palm, the thing that touches everything."
Right.
Drives me nuts. I'm like, forearm.
Sure.
It's a great spot, you know. And then you just so anyway. I appreciate that they did that.
For all of you bloodletting novices out
There
there.
you go. Don't.
It's just
no.
like, especially fingers too when they do that. Have you guys pricked your finger? It hurts. Why would you choose?
Oh, I feel you.
Whatever. So,
Well, I think maybe it had to do because so many people like it was always like let's shake on it and you cut your hand and shake it. So maybe that's
see,
why people
that
think
makes
that
sense.
it's
But
yeah. Nobody's been shaking your forearm too
ending
much.
in the cupboard when you did that and you were Blood Brothers.
Oh man, I just watched that not too long
The
ago.
throwback. I'm talking about the book, but whatever.
Say what?
But yes, the movie was good too.
Yeah.
Anyway. So our search party goes over into the sewer and we have our sergeant. Is it
It's Gudget.
Gudget. Yeah, I was
Gudget
like,
with a U.
"Mm,
Gudget.
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 Okay, there we go. Gudget. He has a very modern haircut, or at least that hairstyle's come
That's
back.
what I've thought since the beginning.
The shaved and the long.
Yeah,
I feel that's
it's
a
very stylish.
it almost feels out of place. I mean, I thought
Maybe
back
it's
then it was
old-timey and
trim.
it's just making a comeback.
Yeah,
That's true.
possible.
I would have no idea one way
Yeah.
or the other.
Yeah, but he's with our search party. They're in the sewer. There's bloody writing on the ceiling, which we find out later said no innocence because it was kind of hard as it was going across.
It was a little bit, yeah.
I was like,
Right, I was like, I hope we're not
were we supposed to
read
read that?
Yeah.
But I assume that it must have been like pretty freshly written because it is dripping on
Right,
Gudget.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So
he's like,
yeah, we find out
sneer.
when he's trying to rub his face.
Yeah. So if anything I was all kinds of bad jokes. Anything drips on your face, don't.
Man.
Ah.
Scary.
all right.
Anyway, so they find a young girl in the sewer. They rescue her. And then we completely leave the search party. We go to Houdini and his mom. And she's like, I miss company.
Oh,
And his
yes.
reply, I'm company. And you're like,
No.
no, that's not what
No,
she means.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so protective, though.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love
He
that.
is a mama's boy, like
Absolutely.
no other.
Absolutely.
Holy cow.
Almost a bit too much that you're like, so do you guys get freaky? Like,
Oh, come on.
No.
Come on. Can a guy not just love his mom without people being weird about it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little
He's
just
very
like,
devoted.
but by the end of it, by the end of the episode, where they kind of talk at the end, you're like,
Yeah.
ugh, enough, come on.
What?
Yeah.
so Ty, you're a mama's boy then?
Well, first of all, I 100% am. Yes,
Okay.
I absolutely am. But I don't think like it's something where you immediately jump
No,
like,
no,
oh,
no,
there
no,
must
no.
be something weird and Oedipal here. Like, no, he loves his mom and he's protective.
Yeah, but mama's got needs, you know?
Of course. I absolutely agree with that for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
She misses company. That 100% makes sense.
And it's been long enough that it's not like it's his father, like, oh, you're replacing my. He's old enough
Right.
that it's like, oh, you're not replacing my dad. It's not that kind of thing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So. I looked at you when the newspaper was back.
Yes.
There we go.
The
you go.
newspaper, how they find out what's going down, is back.
What I would like is if for some reason that Harry didn't get the newspaper that week and just was not involved
Just
in a crime.
goes about his business. It's like, oh, I guess nothing happened this week. We're
Nothing happened,
investigating.
man. No.
Harry, where were you? We needed you.
But Doyle didn't get the paper, but Harry called him.
Yes.
Dude, did you see the paper?
While he's staring at that blank page in the
Yes.
typewriter. I love that
Yes.
scene.
And psychic solves crime, and then yes, we jump to Doyle trying to write. That was super funny with his daughter. She's like, "Can you read it to me?" He's like, "What you think?"
That killed me, yeah.
But I can
It was
imagine
great.
for somebody that wants to be kind of like distance himself from
Mm-hmm.
Sherlock Holmes, but it's just cast such a shadow over his
Oh,
career.
yeah.
Exactly.
To have those books just sitting up there in your library
Yeah.
as you're trying to write something new, and just the intimidation
Yeah.
for that.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
and he's trying to get everyone to get on the Great Boer War train, and
Yeah.
no one really gives a shit if it's not
No.
Sherlock.
Yeah. Did we really talk about? And I wanted to touch upon, since you mentioned the books across the way, that Houdini has his collection as well. Do you remember that from the first
yeah,
episode?
Yeah.
That you're like, when he was giving him a hard time, it's like, and lo and behold, you own his entire collection.
Right, he knows.
You're
his
a
works.
fan, secret fan.
Yeah. Yeah, which I think would make sense. And I think if you looked at Doyle, I think he'd be a fan of what Houdini
Yeah.
does as well,
Exactly,
too.
exactly.
They're
yeah.
just not maybe going to come out and admit it.
Yes.
right. Well, and I think they admire each other's work for different
Yes.
reasons as well. I think, Doyle, he seems like the person that would probably want to believe in
Yeah.
magic and in the reality of magic,
Yes.
while Houdini is just like, here's how I did it.
Yeah.
Like I
No,
feel
totally.
like that part of this whole process of this whole investigation is
Mm-hmm.
sort of killing a part of Doyle to figure out how all of these tricks are done.
He's like, oh man.
yeah, exactly.
So disappointed.
Exactly.
Actually, that's not a fact I wrote down, but that was something that the book I'm reading was talking about, how both men, they were very similar, both really hardworking and like overcame a lot to get where they were, and like had to deal like a long time struggle to get to like they're super famous, but they became super famous, and like we talked about them today, so they obviously did something right.
Right.
Then we get Houdini and Doyle talking about Stratton's marriage. Of course, they have to talk
Houdini
about
just cannot let it go.
No,
He's, just
he's like, oh, she went to dinner with me. That means something. She was hungry. Oh,
right.
good one-liners on this. So good. And then they meet Korzha, who was our psychic. So
Madame
now they
Korzha,
get to
yeah.
meet her. And she touches Stratton's hand and is like, interesting. We don't know exactly what that means.
Not
but
quite
that was
just yet.
interesting. Yep.
But given the way that the show's kind of set up, I mean, the second that we see Korzha and she helps find this lost girl, I immediately, much like Harry does, like, She's in on it. She's in on it. That's the easiest thing to establish some sort of credit. Is to stage the kidnapping that you can conveniently solve.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right, but it's once again the formula of the show is that sure she's not what she seems, but there's gonna be one last thing that she says that's like what?
I was gonna say jumping way ahead. Exactly when that moment happened, I look at you. I'm like,
right,
there's that
every
thing.
time, yeah.
And
There's always
I look at
just
both of you guys.
something.
Yes. And then Doyle. Oh yes, she was talking with Doyle about Holmes, and it might get dull to do the same thing for so long. And then I'm like, that almost sounded sexy, suggestive. Might be bored doing the same thing all the time. I don't know, maybe
I think you read that into a lot of things.
I know, or just bored with other things because she's just like, anyway. Then we find out there was an 8-year-old little girl who was killed. Upset father comes in.
Mr.
Don't
Pierce.
really know much about him, but he's upset about something, and they're glad that the other girl didn't die the way his did. But we don't. We're like, okay, who's this guy?
Right.
All right, then we get. I love that everyone is allowed on the case because we got to save the kids.
Yeah, marrying. I mean, just like really, like he's almost like at tears. Like, oh, we have to do this.
Right. Yeah, and we saw him humanized a lot more in this
Yes.
episode than we
Yes.
really ever had. You know.
Kind of jumping ahead with him, but I like that we reveal that he lost a child that I knew something was up. I'm
Sure.
like, he has a personal connection that he cares, like, to
Sure.
save the kids.
And-
Not just an adult save the children.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think we could tell that there had to be something more at stake for him to not only let the psychic in on it, but also to let Harry in on it
He's like,
as well.
you guys are in on it too.
Yeah,
Like, I'm telling you, go do it
He's
this
not
time.
just like frustratedly like allowing them to work
Yeah.
on it, like to his chagrin.
But I didn't buy what the sergeant's saying. This like when he says it was great to work with a consultant that wasn't in it for their own personal gain.
Oh, right.
And I don't think like Houdini and Doyle, any of these things that they've been involved with, they've never like hey, we're doing it to promote stuff about ourselves.
Yeah,
and
that's
take
true.
credit
I
for
could
it.
They
see
don't.
I could see on the surface someone thinking that about Houdini, like because
But they've done a few things already.
Sure.
And he's not like going to the interviews of like a newspaper and being like, I solved the crime, guys. Come to my
well,
show.
I don't know. I mean, we don't know. We don't know that.
That's true. It's
There's a
not
lot we
really
don't
shown.
see. And this is a guy that has his gigantic head on the side of buildings.
Yes. Okay.
So I could see why people would think that.
Suspicious.
Right,
True.
right,
Okay.
of his intentions.
And then they make a detour. Our little group make a detour to go spy on Houdini's mom.
Hey guys, come here and spy with my
Okay, see, that's
help me
where
spy
I'm
with
like,
my
okay,
mom.
that's too much of a mama's way of like.
Sure. But once
bringing
again,
your friends.
once again, not in like the gross
No,
way.
just
super protective.
Just one of those like
Right.
roll your eyes.
Sure.
And then he so subtly pries into Stratton's business.
Smooth businessman, smooth operator.
Dude,
You ever think about getting married?
yeah. I like that Doyle's like, dude, you suck at this. He's calling him out. It's like good.
But I like Stratton always has a good comeback for anytime she's
She
put
shuts
like
him down
yeah,
instantly.
Oh, yeah.
anytime that Houdini kind of puts her in an uncomfortable situation, ask her like a kind of scandalous question, she always has a nice comeback.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She's smart. She's on her toes. She should do improv. Haha. And then we meet Julia, the little girl. She has no cuts on her arm, so it's not her blood that made the writing on the walls. And they talk to the parents, but they have no experience with psychics, no enemies. So it's kind of like, why this kid? And there's a mysterious doll, but we don't know anything about that.
That she was
either.
like coaxed with, kind of,
Yes.
yeah.
And then our Korzha, I'm like, I wrote initials to make it faster to write, so I'm like, K. Oh yeah, Korzha. That's her name. Korzha. Cuts herself again, and I'm like, dude, she must have like a bunch of cuts all over her arm.
Right.
Anybody else think of that? Like, she's constantly
Yeah,
checking the
exactly.
spirits, supposedly. But you know what thing? Speaking of it, not real and not real. We as a viewer heard whispers that were not her or anybody present.
Right.
And it was a male
right.
voice. So I was kind of wondering if the show was going slightly supernatural because you're like, wait, that's not anybody present.
I was wondering if that was meant to be being heard by someone in the shot, if that was just kind of like a soundtrack
Is that
thing.
for us?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, I wondered that too.
It is interesting in many of these episodes where they kind of will stage that, where you wonder, is it just for the benefit to fool the audience into thinking there's something really more
Yeah.
Right.
mystical happening?
a good
Or
question.
is this happening really kind of in the universe of the show?
Yeah. We don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think what do you think they're hinting at? Then we get the creepy doll factory.
I love that.
good creepy
It's
doll
such
factory.
like a classic like horror trope.
Yeah.
Like all these limbs strung up from
Yes.
the ceiling.
Eyeballs.
Let's make it as
Yes.
creepy as possible.
Cobwebs.
And the guy, Phip, The guy that...
Oh, we're not there yet.
Oh, are we not there yet?
Yeah, no.
Because that guy
He's
was
later.
also terrifying.
Oh, he was funny. He was funny looking. And then, of course, they find the gloves that smell like the sewer. And you touched them. It's that moment you're like,
Yeah.
they smell like the sewer.
Let me
You should be
inspect
like,
these.
no.
Right.
Yep. And then we go back to the station, and then I like their debate on the abilities of humans. So, okay, there we go. Quick poll of the panel. So, do you think psychics believe in them or not?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I feel much like myself. I feel like Doyle, where I want desperately to believe that they're real, and yet my rational mind can't allow me to make that just leap of faith.
Right.
Just totally invest in it.
I think there could be people that are maybe hyper aware.
Right.
Maybe
and
not necessarily the future.
That was the argument that Doyle was
Yeah.
saying, like psychics they don't necessarily have all of the answers. They're just further along on the spectrum,
Yeah.
like how dogs are sensitive
Yeah.
to high-pitched noises.
Or dogs can even detect seizures. Or it's like there's things that maybe some people could detect or be aware of, but not necessarily.
Because I think, Houdini's of the mindset that it's either all or nothing.
Yeah.
Either they have all of the answers or none of them. You
Yeah.
know, like why couldn't she just lead us right to the kidnapper right away? And so I see what Doyle's saying. Yeah, I see his point. But yeah, I think where Houdini's coming from, obviously he sees it as just all cold reading. She's very adept at reading facial cues and vocal cues, reading the clothes that someone's wearing, things like that, being able to deduce, using essentially detective skills.
Pretty much. Aha.
Which we will get to, yeah.
But yeah, that was an interesting debate. It was nice that the show had that because it's a realistic conversation, especially if they're dealing with it.
Sure.
Like they're dealing with someone
And
who has that ability.
once again, I feel like every week we get a different version of this conversation where it's science versus supernatural.
Next week looks like aliens.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that each week it kind of takes a different form, but essentially it's still just Houdini versus Doyle, belief versus disbelief.
Yep, exactly. And then we get another girl has been taken. She's at the hospital, but she won't talk to any man. But oh, lo and behold, our team has a woman.
Yes.
How
Thankfully.
convenient.
Phew.
They're just like, I like that they kind of go, like look at her, like, guess you're up.
And that's not
She's
the first
just like,
time that's happened either.
But that is a moment it is good to have what's any kind of group. It's nice
Sure.
to have a couple variety because you don't know what skills you're gonna
Very
need.
true.
So Stratton's up, and we learn that the man has a beard, and he gave her the doll. And then they're like, maybe it's the father, because the father has the beard.
It could be Henri. It could be Mr. Hargreaves.
Maybe she went willingly, like maybe it's someone she know, but we don't really know. Then we get to go see Korzha's performance, quote unquote, with the audience, and Doyle's wife wants to call him. Okay, sure. Doyle's like, all right. But I love how skeptical and, okay, I don't mind Houdini being skeptical, but he's to the point of being rude. That I'm like, I know you're trying to help these people out,
well,
but...
to be fair, his skepticism means that he thinks these people are con artists. They're conning people out of money. So to him,
That's
there's no
true.
reason not to be rude to them.
That's true. Devil's advocate there. That's a good point. Because if they are like scamming people, you need to save the people.
Sure, yeah, exactly. So he's not really caring about politeness or social contracts there.
But I'll have to show you guys a picture, but the bell thing on their picture, there are drawings of like how he detected those things. So there's a drawing of how they did the bell under the table.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
The foot, like an old drawing. Yeah, so he's not hip to it. He's not liking it. He's like, nope.
Yeah, he sets down some conditions
like,
for them to do this, to carry out the seance.
Makes sense. And then she says, Tui is still with you, which nobody said Tui yet.
Yeah, there's no way she would have known,
That's suspicious. But then there's kind of the moment that's maybe a trick because the windows and the doors and the switch, that was kind of cool.
Sure.
I like that. I don't know what
It
that
happened
was,
so quickly, yeah.
I'm like, you didn't just get up and like...
Right. Well, and
over
then we find out that his conditions for the seance was that Henri had to
he was tied up.
Had to be tied up. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, suspicious. Yes. And then we go over to Stratton, who she's not really a disbeliever, and she pretty much, I think they're back at the station at this point. She's pretty much like, any means necessary to get this done. Like, let's use her. Oh, no, they're talking to her there. They're like, just whatever possible. But we get the prediction that by 12 a.m. she will be no more, which is a very conveniently vague statement.
I mean, I didn't think about it at the time. By the end of this episode, I got why it was worded that way, but I did not think about that way at the time.
I agree.
You got to be pretty confident in everything to be able to call a shot like that at a specific time.
Right, exactly.
You know, like anything like, 8 or 10 hours from now, like, guess what? Boom, yeah, by then.
You're gonna be no more.
Yeah.
Thank you, Edgar Allan Poe. It's like no more.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is similar time period-ish.
Oh, that's true.
Then Houdini and Doyle need to save her, and she's not happy. She's like, I'm right here, guys. I'm right here.
One of these days, though, something's gonna happen. I feel like
I want her to save them. Like they'll have a moment.
Oh,
yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. If that hasn't happened already, I feel
I was
like
gonna
that
say
might have
when
happened
they were
already.
in underwater.
Exactly.
Remember the grate?
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like at one point something's gonna happen. She's fighting so hard.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point where it's like, no, I can walk alone at midnight by myself and nothing will happen. It's like, no, I get that you're capable of defending yourself. That doesn't mean that nothing can happen.
Good answer, because it's one of those like, yes, you can walk.
Right.
Like,
It's like, yeah, sure, you can. Doesn't necessarily make it a
ignore the
great
possibility.
idea.
Yeah.
Right.
oh well. Then we got Doyle. He felt something with the psychic.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, how much is that like the suggestion of your mind?
Sure.
Like you want to feel something, and he points out this only psychic who knew his wife was alive and knew the name. So suspicious, intriguing. You're like, I wonder.
Right.
Then we get the really interesting discussion. This was this was another example. I love their buddy conversations. They seem to have, that's the other formula in the show. Every episode they get a nice little buddy conversation,
Sure.
which is great because
Yeah.
it gives us them. And yeah, the revealing that he was a psychic and caused a very serious problem. That was. What do you guys think of that moment?
I love that. I love that I think we knew from the beginning that he was that something was weighing on him, and it's interesting that it came out in this sort of a way.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about being this master psychic in the Northeast traveling with carnivals, and it's he's employing all of these tricks that he's accusing all of these other con artists of, but he talks about kind of connecting this wife with her departed husband, and she ends up killing herself to be with him. And so, of course, he's shouldering such an immense burden of guilt that it's, it's interesting that it comes out in this way.
Yeah.
That, it's really like he's trying to stop that from happening again.
Yeah, it's. I guess knowing this story, but then also compared to something more recent, if people watch like The Mentalist,
sure.
where the whole thing was that he pretended to be a mentalist and was all about the serial killer and saying that he could predict who he was and all his actions, and the serial killer ended up killing his wife and daughter, and so that like flipped it on him. He's like, and so his mission then was just to debunk everybody else, and he didn't buy any of that. And much as we find out later in the episode, it was just more his intense powers of deduction that were able to kind of make him seem more than what he was.
Yep. So it's pretty intense there, that nice little reveal.
Yeah, so I can see, like, certainly personal loss. Certainly motivated by your own kind of connery.
Right.
Yep. And then we get Houdini goes to our psychic's place.
Madame Korzha, yeah.
Madame Korzha's little standoff, and then kiss and subsequent sex. But that, sure.
Yeah, interesting because I felt like Madame Korzha there, I think, infatuated with like Houdini, maybe more physically, but like Doyle maybe more mentally.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, later she says the line, he's not just a pretty face.
Right.
So see, she wants the threesome because one, she wants his brain, the other one, she wants his body. So then she can get the best of both worlds.
Sure.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, because Houdini, that's why she's like, don't feel like I took advantage of you. And he's like, took advantage of me? She's like, yeah, because I just wanted sex with you. Can you get out now? It's my place.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't used to these. She says, I have urges and sometimes I act on them.
Yeah.
And he's obviously, even today, someone being that matter of fact about it would be kind of unusual.
You're
so I
like,
think he's
okay.
he's very jarred by that, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems to be such a playboy, but besides Stratton, we haven't really seen him really hit or date other women.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Not really.
No, yeah, because you always were like with his assistant there in the axe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, her.
I don't know what their kind of relationship
Which
status
that kind of
is.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
I feel she was just a booty call,
Right.
pretty much. But yeah, that kind of disappeared. But meh. And then we get Doyle, and I really liked his moment when he was talking about with Stratton of thinking about psychics and from the beyond of the maybe when I'm gone I can still look after my children.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's beautiful. Yeah.
so sweet. right? You're just like, that's so cute. That's a nice way to look at thinking of the beyond and like a psychic connection in the spirits. Like, that's really sweet as a parent.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like his only desires for something like that to be real would be, you know, if Tui were to die before him, to be reunited with her, and also to be able to watch over his kids. You know, really he doesn't care about anything else.
And we learned that Chief Inspector lost his son. That's where that reveal comes in the Boer War that you so glorify. It's like,
well, he defended. Yeah.
It's like,
right. And it's interesting, because we never really got an indication of exactly what the content of the Great Boer War was of that book.
It's a book.
Know? Yeah. And so the fact that he's defending this war that Mering lost his son Will in was. I
thought his son was so much younger, so I'm like, oh, you lost him in war. I mean, that sucks too. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like a child.
But Mering's a pretty old guy. Yeah.
That's true. Could have, or just something else. Like he could have been a really young soldier who went off or something like that. We don't really know.
Right.
And then we get over to Houdini shows up and Doyle, right on the mark, knows exactly what he's been up to. Houdini has his JBF hair.
Yeah,
that's funny. That's exactly right.
Pretty much.
And I mean, to his credit, Houdini admits it.
Yeah, he's like
instantly.
Yep.
He's like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yep. And he stole her passport.
Said it was a one-time thing.
Yeah. And then Stratton, I like that she's like, wait, so you can go do that, but if your mom wants to go out or a one night stand, he's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Don't get him talking about his mom doing a one night stand. He might get a little flustered there. He's like, oh boy. But then we learn that the passport is fake. How convenient though that like it's good that she's there because then she'd be like, no, this isn't even real,
she was
guys.
able to tell right away. Also,
Houdini's all proud, like I stole the passport. It's like it's not even real.
Yeah,
but then that's good. Yeah.
Because Houdini's ready to buy the alibi right there. You know, the fact that she cleared customs on the 6th, 2 days after the kidnapping.
Yeah. But nope, not it. So our team goes to Fibs. Here you go. Now it's Fibs.
Yes.
Fip. Yeah, I was like, it's a B or a P. I couldn't hear. That was
Fip,
one.
and this guy was crazy thin and awesome.
A wonderful character actor. Like his look.
An odd look, and just like his whole demeanor.
Yep.
I absolutely love it. And he's trying to get a tenner from someone. And nobody seems to have cash.
Yeah. They're like, we just have credit cards.
Right. Oh yeah, because we find out that Korzha also lifted some of his money.
Yeah.
They go to Houdini. All right,
Houdini's
Henry paid for this. He's like,
he's like, she's good.
Right.
She's good. That's smart though. But that's like the perfect, like if you're getting down jiggy with someone who's like, well, I can steal your stuff. You're asleep or something like that. Yeah. And then it's like, Stratton's like, no, I'm not paying you. And slash, I don't have money. Houdini's like, oh, she stole my what? Doyle? I only got 5. All right, I'll take 5.
Of course, Pip, he's going to take whatever he can get.
And I like that they're like, why don't you just arrest him? And Stratton's like, we can't.
Right.
He's like an informant.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta need him. Darn. He's not really doing anything that bad. So is he the passport maker then?
Oh, he might be. I hadn't put that together. I think he might be.
Okay.
I think he might be like a forger that they just haven't busted because
why there?
Right.
But that's where they found out her real name. So I'm thinking he's the forger. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But clearly not that good, or at least his work is recognizable to Stratton since she's
Because she went right there.
Yeah. Oh, a constable could recognize it.
He can recognize where it informed to it. Because I thought that was a interesting jump. Them like why this guy? So I figured he was the forger.
Yeah, he either is or he's close to.
Yeah, or knows them. Yeah. And then we find out her name is Edith Criken.
Pilkey from Croydon.
Oh, Criken. She's from Criken.
Yep.
There.
Croydon.
I can't write or spell. But Edith.
And you were busted on me for my handwriting.
I know. No, it's
Thank you.
No, but I actually wrote Criken.
It's Croydon.
Croydon with D. So it's like what I'm hearing. It's what I'm hearing and what I'm watching on the subtitles, and not fast enough. So.
And to be fair, the subtitles are not great.
Yeah.
Sometimes all the letters get jumbled around.
Or at the beginning of one of them, it's like test.
Right.
Okay, fine. Edith got that right.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. We don't care about the last name. And then the ropes are the puzzle solver moment. And they know the expert versus otherwise.
Right. The first kidnapping was done with very kind of basic layman's knots, whereas the second one, only an expert could have tied them.
And I like Houdini knows, but makes sense because he does all his rope stuff. He's like, I got this. I know. He's like, it's a thing.
And not only that, but he's also familiar with changing his name.
Yes,
as
he's
well.
like, I know that. And I like that. Jumping ahead, I like that Doyle calls him on that.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey.
Yes.
He's like, say my name. And then we find out it's the first father, Mitchell, who's guilty. And I meant first father as in the first case, technically. But the guy who came in, so they confront him, and Doyle points out, like, well, you shaved that beard, but you got that nice cut on your face, which is how the girl scratched
Yeah,
you.
they put together all the clues. I mean, the cuts on his forearms to write the no innocence in, shave the beard.
He also did, like...
Yeah, exactly. He was a docker. That's how he knew.
Yeah.
That's how he knew
knots.
the complicated knots. Yeah.
And the water system. And what do you guys think of that motivation for So he kidnapped 2 different girls, yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's 2 different girls.
Yeah.
It felt a little weird that I'm like,
he kidnapped Julia, who we found at the very
sewer,
beginning.
and then there was the one that
Helena.
was
Yeah.
in the water. Well, because then who was the one that was because the one at the hospital woke up. There we go. I had a moment where I thought the girl at the hospital was another one, but I'm like, oh, it's just the one who was already there who woke up.
Right.
So yeah, we have the girl at the docks at the end, and then we have the one who was in the hospital. But yeah, what do you think of that motivation? It's like, my kid was kidnapped and drowned, and cops didn't pay enough attention. Killer got away, so I'm gonna do this to other girls so that
I mean, I buy
there's
it.
recognition.
I mean, if he's obviously grief-stricken enough and driven mad enough by the fact that this killer wasn't brought to justice, I mean, it makes sense. You know, it makes enough sense in the mind of someone like that to kind of replicate that, and you know, almost as sort of this kind of cruel irony, like, you still can't get it done, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we even get a justification for marrying. You know, how could he not go mad? His marrying knows that grief.
That's true.
And I do like that he admits, like, you know, we failed him. I did like that when it's like, yeah, we failed this
I
guy.
like that he
Look
said
what he did.
Yeah, he's still that killer. He's still out there. Just because we caught this guy doesn't mean that other guy isn't still out free.
I get it, but I kind of feel as a father, why would you do that to other children?
Yeah. I mean, that was a little...
That's where I was at the stretch.
I mean, I don't think it's a stretch. I think he can be a father and still be a selfish person. He can still be selfishly
true.
minded. Like,
I lost my child. You get lose your child.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. And then we run to find water because the psychic's like, I see water. I see water.
Yes,
And they're like,
it's threatening because, like, yeah, we got to use all resources, so we need you.
yeah.
Even though we're not sure that you're really psychic, any help you can give us.
But you know what? That makes sense of, like, if you can't solve it, take whatever help you can get. No need to judge.
Sure. And yeah, the fact that she's not necessarily a psychic doesn't mean she's not very good at what she does do.
Which they haven't proved it yet. but
Right.
she's not
And we
good.
also find out, you know, the no innocence basically means once his kid was taken from him, once his child was killed, to him, there's no innocence left in this world.
Yep.
Which I think also speaks to why he's justified in doing this to other children.
Sure. That makes sense. Yeah, and so we get the water. Where's another place for water? Oh, wait, he works at the docks. Let's go to the docks. So they run, trying to get there in time.
But before, I mean, well, they have to deduce going to the docks because he shoots and kills himself before he can give them an answer.
Did he shoot and kill himself? I thought it was in the struggle.
No, the gun went off, and they thought that Adelaide was shot. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
And then Houdini checks him, and he's dead.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I felt it was in the struggle. I didn't think he was like...
No, I'm not saying he did it on purpose. He accidentally shot and killed himself.
Yes. Okay. I was going to say, I'm like, I didn't think he committed suicide. I thought there was a struggle.
I mean, he did, but accidentally.
Yeah, it was a struggle, and it went off, and it hit him. Okay,
Right.
cool. That's what I thought. I'm like, you had me lost for a second.
Yeah, no. I mean, suicide can be accidental.
He was not intending for that to be the outcome.
No, but he
Yes.
did kill himself.
Okay, yes. And then
His finger was the one that pulled the
is
trigger.
not dead.
Right.
And so they figure out must be the docks because that's where he works.
'Cause
What's another rising body of water?
Right.
And that's the tide.
Because it's not like a tank, it's not a sewer. What's the other thing?
Right.
I was gonna say, are there any other? I don't think I could really think of any other.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it.
Yep, that's kind of it. And then they see the girl in the water. They find her because Adelaide goes, wait, I see the dot. I see blood on the ground. Let's follow the trail. And how convenient, he's like bleeding all over the place.
Right.
Follow the blood trail, and then there's the edge. We need a knife. Houdini's like, screw it, like.
Love it,
going
man.
in.
Man of action. Like
Absolutely.
spring with the spring coil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
He's ready to go.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that was really cool. I like that underwater bit too, and it makes sense. He has so much experience with water.
Of course, yeah.
And knots. Untying
And
knots.
Yep. I think he should have done the torso one first before the foot one. because it seemed like the foot one wasn't attached like to the
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
thing. Just seemed like the torso was. So it's like you could untie that one and live. Okay.
Then untie the rest. Yeah, it makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
He's doing it, and then I don't know about you guys, but when I was watching it, it seemed like he was done. And then we cut to
There was
the
a
wide above,
long-
and there was
yeah.
a long pause before he came up. That I'm like,
They would have had to be so deep underwater
yeah,
to
and I
take
didn't
that
think
long.
it rose that.
Right.
All right, it's like way high
Well,
now, guys.
and the fact that we saw the water and like not even any indication of them even being underwater.
Yeah, it just barely went above. Like it was like here
It
when he was
just
done.
right here, yeah.
It's like hold your breath, and maybe here max.
Right.
So 2 extra feet,
Sure.
2 seconds.
For a second, I thought, was he going to try to be like the showman that everybody accused?
I
That's
was
exactly
yes.
what I thought.
Where he'd be behind him at the end, like, were you looking for us?
I swear to God, that's exactly what I was thinking too. That's so
I love that we
funny.
all thought that. Me too. I'm like, he's gonna be at the
I
dock
was
and be like,
100%
guys, what are you
expecting
looking
him.
at?
Right.
Yeah.
And just like, if you think about it, yeah, the worst possible moment to do something
Yeah.
like that. Like, all right,
Be
now
like,
this
"That's
guy's
not
just a
funny."
dick. Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad then they didn't, because that would have been so cheesy
It's
to be
been
like,
such a, and not even just cheesy, but just like legitimately a dick
yes,
move.
Yes.
to be like, that's not
You
funny.
know.
Right. Like, this little girl doesn't care about your show.
But I like that we all went to that. So Houdini set a character
It's
enough that we're
believable
like,
enough.
Yeah.
that's what he did.
I could see him, yeah.
Yeah. And then, yes, he comes out and he does like the half CPR. And
Yes, that seems so weird to me, because even I remember watching, even you were just like, huh? How about
Well,
compressions?
I was gonna look that up. Yeah,
I'm like,
'cause-
when did CPR become a thing?
right. I was wondering about that. Yeah, or when
YouTube
did
comment, guys.
specifically the chest compression
Yeah.
portion of it?
Well, I'm just thinking way back, like there's a Xena episode and like she's hitting her on the chest
Mm-hmm.
just because she's frustrated, and that becomes like the thing that works. So I mean, it's so much that we know what that is, that it's instinctive of like, but I wonder if before that, how much you would think like,
That's what I mean, because maybe even just the breathing into her mouth was something that he only knew because he worked with water
Yeah.
a lot.
which is what he says. He's like, I'm working well a lot. So
Right.
he's probably had times where he's had problems or other people
Right.
did.
Because
So,
I gotta think if the chest compression part of it was in use in 1901, they would have
Yeah.
put that in.
yeah. So I'm guessing it wasn't yet, but it felt weird to be like,
Yes. So, yeah, because it's just obvious. Just push.
I wrote half CPR. I work with water a lot because they're all like, oh my gosh, how did you know?
Right.
So it's enough that people don't know that
Sure,
as a
yeah.
technique yet. But and then we get the chief saying, yeah, like you said, Frank, he's like, I feel bad that we let the kidnapper down, which is a good point. And they're like, oh, you feel bad you let the kidnapper down? And he's like, the killer's still out there,
Right.
and like, which is like, yeah, you feel bad for him. That's true. And then Doyle rips our psychic a new one.
Yes.
He's like, no. He was so disappointed. He's just
Right.
like, I wanted to believe in you, but no.
But man, it was just like watching like or reading a Holmes novel or seeing that where he just
Yeah.
kind of breaks it all down. Boom, 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 boom,
Exactly.
boom, boom.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, Korzha, Sherlock was your textbook. I think he could almost be flattered though,
Oh, sure.
which she kind of was saying. She's
Yeah.
like, come on.
Right. The fact that they were
Maybe
so
later he will be, but like right at that moment, he's just more like,
he's just
you're messing with the things I like.
right, well, he's just disappointed more than
Yes.
anything. I think we've talked about it before. The fact that he's willing to believe makes it all the more crushing when he
Mm-hmm. Every
finds out
time.
that it's not
Yeah.
real.
But he has that strong iron
Right.
will to believe in it.
Sure.
And then she's just a detective. But I like her tender moment where she's like, what you felt was real.
Right. And the fact that
And then Tui, it came to me. So
Right.
there's that little bit of, we
and
can't
I don't know.
explain
Yeah,
it.
I don't know how common that was at the time. The name Tui.
Yeah, that's a good
It
question.
doesn't seem all that common.
I feel
so-
it's a weird one because
Right.
he's just like, how'd you know?
exactly. Yeah.
But given the way that she's so meticulous about research, I guess, and deductive reasoning, that if she knows certainly that Doyle and Houdini are on the case right there from the beginning of the episode, does have time to really kind of break down a lot of their past to kind of research and stuff.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
it
I'm
wouldn't
just
be.
curious how public that nickname was.
That's what I was
Because
wondering.
if it's just like a couple nickname,
Right.
like you only say to each other and not in public, because
Sure.
that would be one like, you and just your partner know. There's no way anybody else would know. So
Right.
We don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, although I don't know. I guess how that works in a couple. Like we have names for each other, and no one else will ever know.
Well, you might not call it out in public.
Sure.
Yell it.
And at the
Because
time,
you say
yeah.
honey, sweetie,
And it
whatever.
seems like Doyle's a very private person,
Yes.
so there's
His
no reason
relation-
anyone
he's
else
like
would
Stratton.
know.
His like relationships private.
Right.
And then we jump over to Houdini and his mom. More mama's boy.
Oh, so creepy. So
See,
creepy.
that's where it was like a little too much.
I don't think it was creepy.
Oh, go ahead. When Harry says, I don't want you to forget about me. Like,
Yeah.
what? He's the one that's providing you with this lavish lifestyle that you're not living in.
Yes.
I don't think she's going to forget about you, Harry.
You're his child. No mother's ever going to forget about her
Yeah.
child. Ever.
You don't know his mindset. It's not creepy that he doesn't want his only mother to forget about him once she's
I
found
like
a
that
new...
we're like,
Yeah.
Oh
Come
my
on.
God.
Die.
It's nothing.
just
Not
don't
everyone.
let any person you want to hook up with see you talk to your mom that way. Otherwise, they're going to be like,
I'm not saying it's not like over the top.
Okay,
Like, yeah,
okay.
he's of course he's overprotective,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean he wants to sleep with his mother. It's not gross.
no, not necessarily. It's just
Yeah.
too much.
I don't think it's a sexual thing, but it's just like,
Yeah.
you got to just not hold on so tight.
Yes.
Please.
Sure.
It's like, take a step back.
Right.
Breathe. But then she's like, I promise I won't see him anymore, and we'll have each other. She feeds into it. That's the problem, too.
Exactly. It's a very
So it's
kind
not
of
just him,
symbiotic
but she's
sort
like,
of.
okay.
Right.
But I mean, like, if they've lost other family members, which I think they have at
Sure.
this point, they've lost a father, and I think he had a brother who might have been dead by this point too. So it's like they really do have each other only. So
Right. Also, yeah, let's talk about the note that
Yep.
that Edith passes to him prior to this.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, we jumped ahead, which ties back in, but
Yeah. Because it's kind of
Yeah.
well, she gives it to him after Doyle
Yes.
kind of rips her apart, and all it says the word prove and then a series of numbers,
Yes.
which we obviously.
which we get to with Doyle and his daughter. He's like reading the Sherlock Holmes book, and then goes, wait a minute, there's something suspicious about this. Gives him an idea. He's
Well,
like,
he reads
ding,
a
ding, ding.
passage that
Yep.
she
that she quoted.
recited, word for word.
So they run to public. Oh, he calls Doyle. I mean, he calls Houdini up. Like, cause come on, they're bros.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
they need their cell phones or something to be like, I need you to be available right now.
Right.
So apparently Houdini conveniently was at home to be like, hey,
Sure.
It's so much for that tender moment with Mom. We have each other. I'm sorry, Doyle called. I got to go, Mom.
I gotta go. Gotta run.
don't forget about me. I'll be back.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
BRB.
Yeah. So they go to the public records and they're like, what is this? And they find out Adelaide was Penelope Graves.
Graves.
Man. See, I'm writing to us. No, that is an A. Penelope Graves. And there's a wedding dress photo. So that's when the Adelaide is no more. I feel that's when her name, legal change or something, expires.
Yep, and that's when,
end
and
of
then
that day.
and we hear the clock strike.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I took that as meaning just like by midnight you will find out that she's not really Adelaide Stratton. That's how I took that. Not that it'll have any like legal sort of thing, just that that's when they'll find out.
Yeah, because it was like she's no more.
Right.
So yeah, so I feel
So
like
in your minds,
Yeah.
she's not that person anymore. That's how I took that.
Let's tie that into predictions.
Okay.
So now we're ready for this. You're like, okay.
Now, your AfterBuzz
Okay.
TV
So
predictions.
let's say our predictions of what does Adelaide no more mean.
And that's what I think. I don't necessarily think it's like a legal change or anything like
Okay.
that. I think she was literally just putting such a precise time frame on them finding out
Okay.
this kind of, true
Okay.
identity. I don't necessarily know what she might be hiding or something like that, but it's very interesting. It's something I was not expecting at all.
Yep.
yeah, and I don't know. I mean, given like her character, I don't know if it was anything. Edith Pilkey and her character. If it was something really salacious or scandalous about Penelope and now Adelaide, I figured she may try to use that in some sense. But I mean, the fact that she just gave it over and gave knowledge to Houdini and Doyle, I don't know. I can't imagine it's anything. It'll certainly make them think of her differently, but I don't think it's anything really like criminal or
Right.
anything like that.
I don't think it's criminal. I just wonder if it is a time limit on some document, such as a marriage certificate or divorce or something like that, because midnight means that day is over, and so that is like till that time period. So thus the next day would be it's
And
invalid.
it did look like she was like waiting for something.
Yeah,
Like she
she's
was
like-
watching that clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of prediction
Sure,
that
sure.
it means something expired. Now I
Right.
don't know.
And if we, I mean,
exactly
if we
what.
can cheat a little bit and use the kind of the next on
little bit,
segment,
yeah.
she does say that her life might be in danger.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that ties in.
Exactly.
And then of course maybe aliens.
I know. I'm kind of excited in the aliens because they're like those aren't human,
Right.
but they might just be like weird
Oh yeah, I think
Mountain people.
if we know the show enough, they're definitely human.
Yeah.
Like Second Chance, on Fox did kind of the exact same thing, where someone was abducted and she was like, "No, they weren't human. They're monsters. They're 100%. They can't be human. They're monsters." And it's like, no, they just have weird piercings.
Yeah.
Like we're like, all right, chill.
All right.
They're human.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
I feel like so far in these past 2 episodes, we have Spring Heel Jack, and then
Yeah.
we have this, the original killer of the first girl, where we find out that these two murders, these 2 killers are still out there.
Yes.
And yet, like certainly Spring Heel Jack, kind of forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
With I'm wondering, are these kind of like remnants of other cases going to come back in any fashion? It would be cool if they did.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if the series is going to go that way, or if it's just like a nice little thing where it's like, oh yeah, there's still a little twist out there that we could come back in a later date.
Okay.
Sure.
Maybe. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't think there'll be aliens, but
No, yeah.
I don't know what kind of weird people.
It seems like
quote,
yeah,
unquote,
it might
that
be
they'll
some sort of weird like cult sort
like
of
the
thing.
Descent, like they're people that
That's exactly
kind
what it
of
reminded me of.
mutated
Right,
in a way.
right. They've been living in this kind of cave
in
for
the
so
caves,
long. Yeah.
It is a meteor, it looks like, but
Right.
they don't know too much about it.
Sure.
I was kind of curious. I'm like, I need to go look at how much was science fiction. When did science fiction really kind of come into a play?
Right.
How far back? Because I don't think that far back, but
We got
I'll
with
look.
like H.G. Wells and all that.
Yeah, I was gonna. Well, when did Lovecraft really come into prominence?
That I do think would be then. Yeah.
Jules Verne,
Yeah.
Right.
stuff like
So
that.
they do think of aliens, but they said aliens too in the preview. So they obviously right.
Yeah,
Did we say
alien
they were
ship.
aliens?
Yeah, and even like an alien
So they
ship.
know.
ship.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I'm curious how. Well, there you go. When the book came out, but how popular was it? Of like, it was a common culture. Like nowadays, everybody's like, yeah, it's science fiction. You know?
Right.
But I'm curious how much then, like, how much your average person was aware. But
I don't know, I certainly think like the written word certainly had a lot of power. Certainly for some of those authors, I think I mean, I guess that's why we still read them today.
Yeah.
They were good, but I think they really did have that sort of kind of mass appeal that kept them
Yeah.
in the public light.
well, it makes me think of like Doctor Who when they talk to Dickens and he's not popular in his time period, but it's like after he dies. So that's what I
Right.
mean of like, I
Yeah.
wonder how much, even though the books are out, how much they're read. But
Sure.
yeah, I think it'll be a fun one, and it'll probably, of course, there we go. We know the formula. It's going to be something crazy, little bit that won't be explained.
Right. Newspaper headline.
You know, it's a newspaper. I don't know. I'm getting excited. The more I'm watching this show, I'm like, I really like this show. It's
Sure,
so
it's
fun.
fun. It's super
so
fun.
Any other predictions?
Yeah, I guess we'll
Anything
find out that there's probably some hint that there maybe is alien life.
There could be.
yeah.
That'd be
That's going to be the official stance.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
probably not, but maybe.
I predict the last shot of that episode will have like a tilt up into the stars in the sky, just as like
I
maybe
swear
a
to
shooting
God,
star.
If that's really
Yes.
what it is, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Oh, me too. I'm totally going to be like,
Because that sounds dead on.
but that would totally be a thing, though, that they're like last shot, pan or a tilt. It's going to
Yep.
be like, yep, up
Right.
or the.
I can see.
Yes.
I can see it
Yes.
being gets help for sure.
With a cool little music cue.
Like-
If it does,
After-
we're going to give you a good, like.
Like Houdini's gonna prove something definitively, and then walk away, and then tilt up, and then shoot.
Yes. Ooh, or they're on a cliff and he like walks out of frame and it just shows and then
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
we're like, oh my gosh. All right, okay.
Hilarious.
Well, we hope you all enjoyed this episode and listening to our discussion of it as much as we did, because clearly we had a good time. Let our lovely viewers know where to find your lovely selves.
You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA, various other after shows, Monday Night Raw, American Ninja Warrior starting this Wednesday, Lucha Underground, and American Grid.
You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie, and you can check me out. Well, the night manager's done with Kari and myself. Oh, no. But Master Chef on Thursday nights there, General Hospital, The Preacher on Sunday nights. So many more other things coming down the pike.
Oh my goodness, so busy. Yes, and you can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KARIDLANE, and I'm on Hunters on Mondays, which today they changed when it aired, so we're going to be catching that episode up later. And Vikings on Wednesday, and yeah, that kind of covers it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give us thumbs up, comment on YouTube. We do love reading your comments, Twitter, and all that. 5 stars on iTunes, and check out AfterBuzz on all the social media platforms, because we have all kinds of shows clearly based on all the shows that we cover. So, you know, got to be up to date on all your pop culture news. We'll see you next week, and yeah, have a good night.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.